Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film The Light That Failed from 1939. Now, this is continuing my quest to review all the films of William Wellman, and this is a more obscure Wellman from 1939. His probably more well-known film was Beau Geste, and this is similar to Beau Geste in a little bit of a way in that it does have a desert battle sequence. It's based on a Rudyard Kipling novel, The Light That Failed, and it's very faithful to the original novel. And Wellman actually did have a lot of respect for the authors that he based his material on and would try to recreate that when making a movie. But in this case, it felt like that didn't really work for his own personal style. When you think of Wellman, he's considered like a macho man director, but really the thing about Wellman is he really believed in the working man. I don't think The Light That Failed works well with Wellman's sensibilities. In some ways it does. This is his second tenure at Paramount Pictures. I don't know much about the studio goings on then. I know he didn't stay long. And this doesn't make me think they really, much like what happened after Wings, knew what to do with him, that they're assigning him pictures like this. Back then, of course, when you're an assignment director, you had to kind of do whatever they told you to do. And this is a case of them not assigning the right film to the right director. I don't think Wellman really had any business doing a film like this. This feels more David Lean kind of territory. Kipling was getting adapted into lots of films at the time, apparently. And of course, now the most famous movie based on one of his books is The Jungle Book. Most of them were because of the adventure quality, and this film doesn't have as much adventure, which I think if it had been more of an adventure film, Wellman can get into that. Some of the best directed sequences in this film are the action sequences, which Wellman was always quite good at. But there isn't really a lot of that. It's more of a melodramatic film from Wellman, which is not really his strong suit if you look at his women's pictures, unless he's like really getting into it. But he had left that and he was sick of that by the end, and it really didn't look like he could get back into it, which kind of makes the film suffer and makes it feel a lot more stilted than it really needs to, because it almost feels like if you force a kid to write a history essay. He kind of had some fun with it, but for the most part he was just getting it done and trying to get out of there. Starring Ronald Colman, he plays a artist in the early 20th century after having gone to war in Sudan and being hit by a sword close to the eye, then is in London and is becoming a painter and is a wonderful illustrator and is painting, but there's something wrong with his vision, and he realizes that he is losing his vision and that he wants to complete one last masterpiece before his vision goes, and hopefully fall in love with the girl he wants, but has to paint this Cockney girl played by Ida Lupino, make his masterpiece before it all goes away. A lot of the beginning of this film has more of the stuffy kind of upper classness to it. Never worked for Wellman. That's kind of a problem I have with Beau Geste. It just doesn't feel as Wellman, and I think Beau Geste, it kind of actually works. I mean, Beau Geste is a great movie, but The Light That Failed isn't really as good at that. But the parts with Ronald Colman and Ida Lupino are probably the best parts of the whole movie, and it shows when Wellman really had two actors who could play off of one another, and he could really get into a performance. Regardless of the subject matter of the movie, he really had those parts always come alive. It's almost like he got as into the performances as us as the audience would get into those performances. Wellman lets the actors kind of guide him, and with Ida Lupino, he was actually born in England, I didn't know that, where she's very Cockney and lower class, and he's like this upper crust kind of artist or something like that, and they're playing off one another. Those scenes are really when this film comes alive, and those are the best scenes in this film. Ida Lupino really steals the show in the few scenes she has. It's a really great supporting performance, and I wish she had actually worked with Wellman more. While I was watching this, I was thinking like, God, that would have been an amazing combination. I wish it had happened more. I love Ida Lupino, and I just feel like her temperament with Wellman would have worked really well. Apparently she really fought for this role. Wellman kind of wanted Vivien Leigh, but it being like around the time they're making Gone with the Wind, I kind of feel like a lot of people wanted Vivien Leigh then because she was kind of big, but they couldn't get her obviously because, you know, Gone with the Wind. And Ronald Colman did not want Ida Lupino, and apparently his relationship with Wellman on set was very chilly, and you can almost sense that. I noticed that with Ruth Chatterton in her first film with Wellman, where they didn't get along on set. Her performance isn't as good as it is in the second film when they were getting along, and it's almost like he didn't even want to get into that performance. But I actually think Ronald Colman does a good job. He is supposed to be playing a younger artist. I just thought he was playing an adult artist, but when later I read apparently in the book it's a younger artist, I was like, oh well, that just did not not work, and he was like in his later 40s. I thought he did a good job as an artist and kind of someone who was so into their craft they didn't really care about what was happening to other people. And Walter Houston is also good, who worked with Wellman, of course, before on The Star Witness. One of the things that Wellman really gets in this film is Ronald Colman's character of Dick keeps repainting and painting this picture of Ida Lupino and making her laugh over and over again all day, and that is like super fucking sadistic and creepy, and it made her go crazy, and she eventually destroys that painting, and it kind of adds to the melodrama because that's the last painting he ever creates and he doesn't know it for a while, which I think shows kind of Wellman's darker elements. He really kind of got more into that. I noticed like the gossipy parts of the middle. I can't imagine he did many takes of that. He didn't feel as into it. But I noticed after she leaves, there's kind of a sense of everyone in the film, we need to get her, we need to destroy her. It's like almost like that sense that Wellman almost understands where she is coming from, but a lot of the characters in the film are kind of fighting that in a way that like the film kind of switches perspectives where you totally get where she's coming from, but you also get where his friends are coming from, which is something I like about Wellman. A lot of people say about Wellman, and I've said this a million times, I think, that he was really sentimental, and I think he uses his sentimentality and he uses kind of like the pompous of this film and the writing to kind of rip it apart when he loses his sight. The idea of this movie is kind of horrific. It freaks me the fuck out to lose your sight like that. And I liked how he kind of got to be a little experimental with the camera work when it looked like his vision was going. Not like silent film experimental like Beggars of Life, but experimental for this period, more experimental than you could really be in this period, to be honest. But this isn't a better Wellman film. I kind of almost understand why it's lesser known in some places, but some of the better moments of it kind of shows what Wellman could do with character, with two actors who could really get into their parts and play off of each other as well as they did. And I think the tension between Ronald Colman and Ida Lupino and Wellman really showcased itself in such an amazing way in those scenes where they're going at each other when he was trying to paint her. I love those scenes. When I was watching those scenes, I was like, why isn't this film seen more? But when it got into more of its melodramatic crap, I didn't like it as much. This is very close to the book, The Light That Failed from 1890. The screenplay is by Robert Carson. I kind of thought, wouldn't this have been a better, simpler movie if it had played on Wellman's strengths and made a simpler, kind of more economical kind of film? And I wish they had done that. That probably would have cut out all the battle scenes, or at least like the end battle scenes. I did like the square of guys in the desert shooting these guys in Sudan in the battle. I thought that was very epically shot. It's almost interesting how most of it takes place on a set, but then you have these amazingly epic and visual and visceral action sequences. It kind of shows you the difference between war and home life very effectively. Obviously he was in World War I, so he kind of had some experience with that. This film's very hard to find, but it is on Daily Motion. I'm gonna have a link in the description, but I'm going to preface that it is incredibly hard to get through this, not just because of the quality of the transfer, which is awful. There are constant Outback Steakhouse and Home Depot ads and Allstate ads that run like almost every 5 minutes in some parts. If you really love Wellman and you've always wanted to see this film, and this is the only way you can see it, it's free, it's online, go do it. But I got really frustrated while watching this film. I kind of thought I would like to re-review it if there's a better copy available at some point. I cannot find one. I still kind of tried to get over my frustration with having to watch all these ads of Outback Steakhouse. Part of me hates Outback Steakhouse, part of me wants to eat there very badly. I'm very confused. Unfortunately, this is the only way to watch it. Whoever put that video up on Daily Motion clearly wanted a lot of ads, and I guess they made a lot of money off of me because I made it through, but it does kind of hurt the flow of the movie. I will honestly say in some ways I haven't seen this film the way a lot of people have seen it, so if this was ever on TCM I would actually like to give it another chance, but at this point I really can't. Most of the Wellman films I get to see on TV or on DVD or something, and it's easier to really view it in the same way they viewed it back then. I don't think it's an amazing film. I don't think it's one of Wellman's better films. It's kind of sandwiched between Beau Geste and Reaching for the Sun, which are two much better and more adventurous and more fun Wellman films. It is reminds me of Beau Geste, but Beau Geste is like infinitely better and will be remembered a lot more, and I don't think the availability of this film would really help its quality necessarily. Not having Outback Steakhouse ads probably would help it. Wellman can get into melodrama. He's not really playing with it, he's doing it straight, and I think when he's doing melodrama straight, it doesn't really work as well. Curtiz was a little better at that than Wellman was. Wellman was playing with it and playing with the camera along with the melodrama, you could really get something out of it, but when he's just doing it straight, it just becomes just boring melodrama, and that's just honestly not that exciting. But it has some shining moments to kind of get you through. Without Ronald Colman and Ida Lupino's scenes, I don't think this film really would be worth that much. Because of those scenes are so cinematic and amazing to watch and just wonderfully acted. It kind of elevates the whole movie more than it really is, but honestly it isn't really that much, and its availability and the quality isn't going to change it and make it any better than it really is. So if you have seen The Light That Failed and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. And check out my William Wellman review playlist in the annotation below. I have reviewed over 50 William Wellman films, so if you're into William Wellman, that is a playlist you should check out. In the description, I will have a link to The Light That Failed on Dailymotion. I'm not a huge Dailymotion fan, obviously I'm on YouTube, but if you would like to see that film and have always wanted to, it was at least there when I made this video. I don't know if you're watching this many years in the future. I cannot guarantee that, but I will have the link there, and if it goes down, I will take it down, and then you'll know. And that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.